video, to say the least. Well, I think that's due to OneNote not being open for the first time. But, well, I was thinking about doing a video about this because I want to, as well as have physics, I also want to have philosophy, maybe as well computer science, and I'm definitely going to do a maths video next. But obviously, of course, I'm going to have to link it to physics somehow. But I think the way I want this channel to go, even though it's not like it's a big channel to say the least, it's far from it, 17 subscribers at the time of recording, but I do hope to expand it, as I enjoy making these videos, especially the last two physics videos, especially the last one I had a lot of fun making, as especially the last topic I did, particles, is one of my favourite subjects in physics. But I think this is something I wanted to make as I think this is something that's, sort of frowned upon talking about, yet is something that a lot of people, most atheists, feel. I'd say a good over 50% of the atheists in the world probably do feel this way, as most of them do convert from a religion to, being atheist. Maybe a slight chance of being agnostic, but definitely to being atheist. But at the moment in the United Kingdom, where I'm from, of course, it was recently about that, the UK now is, less than 50% of the people identify as Christian has been in a census, but of course, you have a lot of people saying that this is due to immigration in the United Kingdom, which is, I'd say, a very, very small part of it. I think a lot of it is to, as Nietzsche would say, 200 years ago was the death of God, But I don't think it is that, even though you do see old churches which are now converted into mosques. But in my opinion, unlike Richard Dawkins, who would say, "Oh no, I don't believe in Christ, but I'll have you know, I am a Christian moralist. I believe in Christian morality," which I think is, to be honest with you, quite a load of bollocks, to say the least, as I don't think you can be an atheist yet say, "Oh, look at our Christian morality, look at a Christian architecture." Well, I do have to say at least a Christian architecture is beautiful, but that's more or less because Christian architecture is based purely off that of Gothic architecture, coming from Roman pagan beliefs, not that of Christian beliefs, which were essentially just stolen by the Roman Catholic Church and the Protestant movement. So you can't really say that they truly are, fully Christian architecture, but I do say they are beautiful. It's not like I'm going to say that I would love for the Milan church. I've forgotten its name. I'll probably put it up right now because I'm a bit of an idiot. But it's not like I would say I'd want that to be demolished and put with a McDonald's and put it there. No, even though there are advertisements on it, which I do find really amusing, as people go there to see it and all they see is some fucking Samsung smartphone being portrayed at them. Ooh, what a great time to be a Christian, having a South Korean tech giant on one of your big Catholic churches. Martin Luther would love that, and so would Jan Hus. But I know I am going into rambling, well, I guess that's what this video is about. But I think for someone like me, I was born into a Anglican Christian household, and so was my sister. And we were sort of brought up to believe, I don't think my sister believed it. I don't even remember seeing a single bit of my sister ever saying that she believes in a God. But I was brought up to believe that, God is an objective truth in reality. He exists there. There is a God which loves you, which cares for you, which, will do anything for you. Yeah. as I empirically observed reality around me, as you know, I was a young Enlightenment philosopher at the age of 10. I sort of realised that didn't seem to be a case. I think the problem of evil for me was really not only seeing the suffering in the world, but my own suffering. I thought that, well, how come there are people that don't believe in God, that don't devote time and love to God, yet they seem to, have it better off. But a Christian response to my claim there, especially when my mum made it, was that life was a challenge from God. But then that raises the question: then, if God is all powerful, He is omnipotent, and He knows like the whole of time, He is transcendent, He lives outside of the borders of space-time, well, then surely how can He be this all-powerful, all-known being, and especially omnipotent, if He designs people that are just set up to fail? That's not loving at all. This is what I think I didn't really know at the age of 11, 10, but I sort of figured out in some degree with it, that God is just entirely illogical. Like, just not not through empirical evidence, but also through logic. I think Mackey's inconsistent triad is a great way of saying, just look at just how it all contradicts one another. I think there was a debate club who used to be at my school when I was in secondary school, and one of the topics was, do humans go to the afterlife? And someone said that, well, wouldn't our bodies be prepared? Firstly, if we're empirically going to say our bodies would be prepared, but yet we have this existential impending doom of death. For most people, even Christians, they have this impending existential dread of death. They avoid it because wouldn't you think that, Christian would be welcoming of death, to be united with their father, if we're talking about Christians here? But no, they avoid it, like we all avoid it like a plague. And that's, I think, really for me, not because, well, when I was about 11, I went to this Christian camp. Well, of course, it was an Anglican, there wasn't a single Catholic there, or Hussite, or Luthier. Maybe I might have been a Lutheran, bollocks. Catholic, not Catholic, blimey, Protestant there. But it was like, look, you do 3 hours of prayer in the morning, and then you go to this water park and go to a beach. Even if it wasn't a nice beach, as it was, I think it was in Skegness. Absolutely terrible place. Never go to Skegness. And if you have been to Skegness, I genuinely feel sorry for you. It's awful place. I think the problem of evil is generally true in the creation and the current renewal of Skegness. The fact that God hasn't smited Skegness is a reason for him not existing. But it was like, 3 hours of like Bible study group thing, and then 3 hours, and then like you got the rest of the day just to do whatever you wanted. But there were Christian events. There was what was it? It was modern day Bible. So I think it was like something about the Bible, science, and history. I think something along the lines of that. But I've generally forgotten what this guy said. But I just remember it being a load of bollocks. That's all I remember. Because the thing is that there are so many things that contradict one another in the Bible, and so many things, of course, if you were, for example, an ex-Muslim or a ex-Hindu, ex-Sikh, for example, of course this will not apply to you, as you have the Quran, etc., which you would have followed. But for me, of course, it was the Anglican Bible, or to be more specific, the is it King James the First or King Charles the First who translated the Bible, the King James Bible, I think it is. I think he was the one who made his own Bible. um, but essentially, there's so many contradictions in there. Like, I think one of the most well-known ones is Love Thy Nature, um, yet there's stuff like there's genocide, and it says that genocide and slavery is acceptable, which I think just completely just denounces Christian morality as a whole. There's an ethical theory called divine command theory, which states that all moral principles. It's a anti-realist, cognitive, cognitivist, naturalistic argument, like ethical theory. Sorry, as it says that all morality comes from God. But I think it's so funny that 500 years before even Christ was born, there was the Euthyphro dilemma where was it? I think it was Plato, I believe. Was it Plato? Yes, Plato, I believe, because Socrates, Plato, then Aristotle. But Plato would use Socrates. I believe. I need to read the Republic. I haven't read. I'm waiting till summertime because I'll have about 5 weeks to do with nothing to do, and then I can read a 600, 700 page long book written 2,000 years ago. But essentially, it's saying that, well, if God made morality, if He made what's morally right and wrong, well, then that means that God could have made rape, theft, like He could make anything He wanted. He could make morally right, but He could make murder right if He wanted to. But so that means that then God isn't omnibenevolent, because the ethical rules that He has instilled into us through society and through the Bible. For example, if you're a Christian, if you live in a Christian society like France, Britain, Germany, Spain, Italy, Europe, North America, South America, most of South of Africa was Protestant. Large parts of Asia, well, not large parts, some parts, Oceania, Russia. Yeah, anyway, I'm getting into a sidetracked. It's saying that then, well, that could have been anything, but if He didn't create morality, if those were just objective truths that were in the universe that were instilled, then that means that God isn't omnipotent then. So it's similar to Mackey's inconsistent triad, where you say you reject omnipotence or you reject omnibenevolence. And I mean, some Christians do reject they reject omnipotence, but I think that just means there's a God which is pretty much not worth believing in. If you have a God that isn't all powerful, then what's the point? But I think my mum actually said to me when I was about, I think it was 11, she said that that it might as well believe you might as well go to church, because you'll have the eternal afterlife, which was like somewhat almost a bargaining. I spend 2 hours of one of my week to go to a church to pray to something that essentially should know I'm praying. If he's outside of space time and He doesn't live in time, then God will know that I will pray about some, I don't know, usually some stupidly materialistic or selfish gain. I mean, when I was younger, I used to pray, bloody hell, I prayed for a Nintendo Switch to materialise to me out of nowhere. Well, eventually I did get a Nintendo Switch, but I kind of wanted one in March and I got one in Christmas, so that's nice, isn't it? Hell, even as a Christian child, I was wishing that someone would leave their Nintendo Switch on, I don't know, on a pavement so I can steal it. that's another thing. Sin in itself, sin. I mean, what? How can you say that things like homosexuality, theft, and murder and things, these are things that are God, which says, oh no, you shouldn't have, and also you shouldn't have sex outside of marriage, you shouldn't cheat, things like that. A God that says that these are wrong, yet almost entirely makes humans want to do that. I mean, all this just to make, for a Christian claim to say that God is testing you. But what if I don't want to be tested yet? I don't want to be tested. Or maybe I just want to enjoy life. Yet this God out there just wants me to be, just wants to test me, just so, because for him the only goal is to be with him. What if I've got other goals than that? What if I don't want to be with him? Heaven just sounds like hell, if you think about it. No end to just an internal salvation. Doesn't that sound almost boring, you know? Where you and what? I was talking to my mum about this a couple of months ago. I was asking her, do you reckon they would have a debate society, or I know they'd I don't know, have thought clubs in heaven? She said, well, you don't know what's in heaven. Well, I said, surely you could challenge God in heaven if he's there. Would that send you to hell? Like, it just doesn't seem just that you can have some omnipotent being, and almost undemocratic in essence, that you have this all-powerful, all-knowing being that's just there, you know, above the clouds, as the medieval Europe thought, that would just go ahead and decide if you get eternal suffering or eternal salvation. I mean, what does he say is correct? Because to a God, I said, that accepts genocide, surely would be in heaven. Apparently I can't say that on YouTube, so I'll have to bleep that out, but I think you will know who I'm talking about there. I don't know, to him, people like Henry Kissinger would go to heaven, and who else? George Bush would go to heaven. Yet Karl Marx, I can't say him either, I don't think, so I think I'll have to blur that out. Vladimir Lenin will go to hell. Why? Because they changed the society. Who said it? Was a sociologist. I should know who they are, but I think it was Durkheim or something. Durkheim, I think it was. He said that God is society, essentially. God is society. We everything that, if you go against society, you're going against God in almost every sense, because a society will always create its own God in a time of struggle. I mean, technically religions are just cult in reality. They're a way of trying to not suffer. I mean, the amount of times that, you get extorted by churches. I mean, just different churches, and the Catholic Church essentially just extorts its followers. I mean, imagine part of your taxes as a medieval peasant, that you so hard earn by doing farming, getting crops, trying to survive, and yet there's some guy in Rome who claims that he's going to heaven, and yet has orgies with children, and has orgies and buys expensive arts, and finances the ballistic car, I think it was called, the massive thing in the papacy. Like, yes, it's a nice piece of building to look at 600 years later or so, but surely, you got to think about how, some northern German peasant paid for that. Essentially, it wasn't the architect who paid for it. It wasn't the Rome essentially who paid for it. It was the German peasants and the Portuguese peasants, the Spanish peasants, the French peasants, the Polish peasants, the Hungarian, the Austrian peasants who would have paid for it. And essentially, that is what Richard Dawkins' criticisms of religion and God in essential is that, well, you have this force which tries to say it's moral and, for a all-loving God, but it is inherently evil. Of course, then they'll say, oh, look, but there's an atheist, big bad, and I'll have to bleep that out again, who was an atheist, or that goddamn commie did so much bad stuff. I can't get into it now. I think I'll do another video where I talk about politics, because I don't think that's for everyone, and I don't think I want people clicking off this video if I go into politics. But I think his, like, Richard Dawkins' claim about how religion is inherently evil and faith is evil, I think it is personally quite bad in my opinion. I don't really like Richard Dawkins, as he claims that wokeness is a real thing, but I digress anyway. Also, I'm going to go more back into my experiences. I think as well, I was actually almost bullied at church, essentially. That I know it's a lot different in mosques, and Islam I heard is a very welcoming religion, but in my experience I didn't find that with church. I found that the youth groups were, like, the kids there were just so horrible, and I think that's entirely due to, well, I don't think there was a single kid there that lived in poverty or was poor or they didn't get everything, because all of them had iPhones, they had fucking designer shit. I was there with my, I don't know, £10, £15 jeans from Asda and whatnot. I mean, it's not like I'm saying that I grew up entirely poor, or or that poor at all. I grew up lower middle class, but all these people were just so entitled. It was unreal, honestly. I mean, at that same Christian event I was talking about, I just wanted to hang around these people, yet they never spoke to me. They never texted me about events they were going to, so I was essentially just there on loan. I had to go and do things with my mum because of their... My mum was not impressed. She talked to their parents, but yet I don't think they cared. So I sort of realised, especially since, as well, I was basically bullied at, like, primary school, essentially, by this group of girls. And so for that, it was me for an evidential problem of evil, was that, surely, how can this suffering happen to me, that when surely there is a loving God up there which is trying to do the best for me? Surely that, like, if this is a challenge, surely it doesn't have to be so much of a challenge. Surely why does he need to even challenge my faith? Surely my faith in essence shouldn't be unchallengeable. But of course, I think really as well, the main reason wasn't a logical one, because I'll be quite real with you, I think I was quite stupid at the age of 11 and 12, but I think it was more on a scientific ground. I think I was starting to get into watching scientific videos and videos on science and maths. I wasn't that into science until I was about 14, but I think I was really into maths especially, and I think history as well. And so talking about the dinosaurs and about how, well, the dinosaurs weren't in the Bible, I think that was the first thing I sort of noticed, but how dinosaurs weren't in the Bible, yet they were there. Surely this all-knowing, all-powerful God would know that dinosaurs exist. Why would he have created them in the first place? Well, the Christian argument there is, well, he created animals first, but in the 7 days, that could be a metaphor. But you can't just say some parts of the Bible are metaphors or not, because if God is all powerful, all knowing, and He's created everything, and it's all of His was part of His designs, and surely the 7 day, 30 day, 24 month year, etc., was His doing, and surely it was purely 7 days. And isn't the fact that it being 7 days, wasn't that to, emphasize that He is all powerful, that He can do so much in so little time, that He can, He's the God of creation. Yes, He only did it in a week. What can you do that's big in a week? You can't, because you're a petty contingent being. You're not a necessary being. You're not transcendent. You can't do that. Like it's just mental that you can argue that dinosaurs didn't exist for a day, and then in the Bible it says that the Earth's only 2,000 years old. That's so wrong. The Earth's it's 4.6 billion years old. It's not 2,000. Just the fact that lead exists proves that the Earth is not 2,000 years old. Like, the solar system is like 13 billion years. The universe is 13 billion years old. Like, if you say that, well, creation was a metaphor, and that God did create the world, but the story is sort of metaphorical, or you take some parts of the Bible and you copy and paste it and you make a new Bible that's adheres to science, then you've essentially just made a non-religion, essentially, because that's what panentheism is, basically, and process theology. But that's what a lot of non-realist Christians believe, is that, well, these miracles don't really have, they don't need to be real to have meaning, but they're pointless then. Faith is pointless. I think that I'm a realist personally. I think if miracles have to be real for, God to truly exist, and those miracles have meaning, because if they didn't happen, then what's the point in believing? And I don't believe they happened. Personally, I think people like Jesus exist. Like, of course, we know that He existed, but I think Morris Wiles has a great point on how that God created the natural order, the natural laws, and if He's omnibenevolent, then surely, like a good politician would, or a good leader, they would stick to the own rules that they follow. They wouldn't exploit it. Yeah. So he's deist. He believes that after God created the world, He went, I'm going to step back for a minute. Which, even then, like the idea that, of a God that ran away, I find that quite stupid as well. But I think my mum did eventually let me stop going to church. I was about 12. I was just starting secondary school. And so from that, I did know a lot about Christianity, and I still do because of it. Because, as I said, it was almost instilled to me that God is He's a truth. He exists. He is an objective truth. And it's never, told to you as a child that, why other people believe stuff and things. You're almost like, these other religions are wrong. They're misguided people. We need to convert them. Which is so prehistoric, in my opinion. It's so medieval and Renaissance thought, and almost you could argue Reformation was kind of thought, like colonists. But I think pluralism, the idea that there are so many religions, just contradicts itself. That, surely we have one God. He would, the one singular God, He would go, I am the objective truth. I am here. All these religions, which He does in all these different religions. And we have the angel Gabriel in the Quran, surely surely an omnibenevolent God wouldn't create a religion just so that the other religion that he's just created, the other one, the one that he's just tried to replace the previous one from before of Judaism, surely he wouldn't just do that again. Or maybe Islam is his third religion that he's very like, oh gosh damn it, I need to make a new one. I think the idea of a stupid mechanic there is quite funny. If to the design argument, one of the best, Christians love it. I swear, Christians, they love to hit with just three arguments for God. It's either the ontological, the cosmological, or the design argument. Either one. When I'm looking at these like apologists and these people defending religion online, they're all the same. It is so boring. It's either, oh, one of them was this Muslim guy. He was like, it's like, oh, YouTube is a thing, then YouTube needs the internet, and the internet needs a computer. And you say, if you go back, all you get to is God. Well, why does it have to be God? How about it's the great big fish? You know, what about that? But that essentially is a. I was quite stupid. That wasn't a great argument. I was just trying to be stupid there. Anyway, for him, he's saying that it's the cosmological argument. It's all roads lead to God, but he's just committed the fallacy of composition. He's saying that, well, you need an explanation for all these things. So as Hume's 20 particles, he was like, oh, if you've got 20 particles, if I explain every particle, I don't need to explain all of them, do I? Which I just think, another one was a design argument. It said that the world is so natural and beautiful that, of course it needs a God. But no, it doesn't. If you got 4.3 billion years, I think chance can do a lot in that time. I mean, even the tiniest probabilities, you still got a couple of years of things happening. I mean, if we're looking at probability distributions, if you have such a small probability, eventually with a geometric distribution, you'll get to the point where it becomes very probable that something happens. At some point in most distributions, you have that. There's a point where it becomes very probable. And if you have like evolution, you're having it failing, then success, Or I think in 4.3 billion years it's going to do something. And I mean, you have empirical evidence that evolution exists. I think that we've observed even in ourselves that humans are currently changing. Newborn babies are slightly different to ones born 30, 40 years previously, And I mean, they had a look at, what was it, as a gecko, they put in completely different environmental conditions, and it changed. It just changed slightly, and I mean, you'd have to wait probably about like 500 million years for that gecko to really become different to what it was. But my mum, she doesn't accept the theory of evolution. Of course she doesn't. She's a creator. There obviously are Christians out there who do believe in the theory of evolution, but believe that, well, that we have a God which created laws and the physics, and he created the natural universes. But then, of course, to counter that, you have that, well, the universe combusted itself to these constants because it was a constants which the universe could survive in, that wouldn't collapse in on itself with these, Euler's constant, the gravitational constant. I mean, if the gravitational constant was ever so slightly not more, everything would just be crashing into one. We'd have, life wouldn't be able to develop on Earth, for example. And that's one of the arguments, again, the design argument, that we're in the Goldilocks zone, that everything's so perfect. But, we have the dark forest paradox where, life does happen a lot, but the universe is so big that we can't find it. If you're in a massive forest, it doesn't matter. If, say, you're in a near infinite forest, well, of course, the universe is finite, and isn't infinite, but an infinite thing cannot expand. Going to go on to infinity in a bit. We're going to talk about how, you must have a point of stop, but with cosmological argument. That's another thing, cosmological argument. Reject ad infinitum, but you can have ad infinitum, you know. We can have empty, you know, the universe is a brute fact, as Russell said, but going a lot onto A-level religion here, getting away from religious trauma and a lot of time wasted with religion, but hey, I mean, there is a lot to it. Sorry, and this is Rambles again, so I can go off, you know, but I think a lot of religious people, I think, they're either, I think a lot of it, I think, just saying I think loads. It's because God is taught to them at a young age that it's objective truth. I think psychologically, I think that because there's taught to them objective truth, a lot of the stupider ones, sorry if you do believe in God and you think it is an objective truth, but I don't know why you clicked on this video and you are 36, around, well that's what Audacity's telling me, I'm 36 minutes into recording, you are still in, and I've probably said so many things which are blasphemous to you. Anyway, believe God is an objective truth, or they believe that they'll be somehow punished in the afterlife. They'll go to whatever they may call hell, because if they stop believing. So they believe out of fear, maybe out of true faith, you know, maybe they need Freud. Oh my God, oh my God, he's so funny. Freud said that people who believe in God have daddy issues, which is so funny. Oh, he's talking about religious experience, but it's I'm going to say that anyway. But for me, it was definitely the fact that for me, God was an objective truth, and I think one of the side effects of this is that I think I've become quite desensitized to grief. I can't think of the last time I've ever grieved anything really. I'm not sure if that's because I'm probably incredibly autistic, or it's because I was taught for such a young age that death really doesn't matter when it does. You know, if somebody dies, you're never getting them back. You're never going to see them again. You may like to think that, you know, to cope in death, that there's some place where everyone goes when they die. And humans have always been drawn to this idea to be spiritual. But no, you've never seen them again, so make last of the people you have around you. Woohoo. But yeah, I think it is one of that anyway. But the community in religion, again, as I said, I never really felt that either, because I never really felt that I belonged to it, because I was almost pushed out from day one, which felt kind of bad to me, because I felt like I've been going to that same church for more than even some of the adults there, because I've been going for about a decade almost at the time. Well, I was alive for 10 years, I was 10 years old. Oh my God, I'm dyslexic, by the way, so yeah. But I felt that I'd been pushed out almost, as an outcast, as an outsider. Camus, fuck me. But I think for a lot of people, they're still drawn into it because of the community, this love for this one divine being that loves them back, but for some reason never contacts them at all. But you just feel it. Some people say that they've talked to God, for some reason God talked to them more than anyone else. He created millions of people to not see him, but some too, some people he designed purely to see him. There is true Übermenschen. I mean, you could argue that a religion really does allow the idea of a superior race of people, whilst God creates a subhuman race, an Untermenschen, for the Übermenschen to take hold of. And that's what I mean. It's the whole religious structure is just so unethical. I mean, it's so illogical. Yet, because of this hope, this senseless hope and faith, is installed into billions of people. I mean, there is billion Christians out there. I mean, even looking online, you just have someone say, "Oh, I'm not religious," and you have an onslaught of religious people just going, just getting at them, discredit them. But if you, but you have this whole what was it, religious people, especially in America, where they talk about how gay people are indoctrinating the youth. Yet you go to a church and you have like kids being told, because they said God is an objective truth, when in actual fact I don't think that. I think you can teach your children about religion, you can give them your religion, but I don't think there's anything ethical in telling your child that God is an objective truth, because because they're going to believe that for their whole life, unless they find in logic that they don't believe you anymore, unless that, because most people will believe that, and it will mean that they'll probably disregard some aspects of science. I mean, there are major studies to anti-vaxxing, the flat earth community, and religion, especially Christians, because they believe that, that there is some form of perfection in the world, that everything is improbable, and that their bodies will be, when the will of God, will able to outdo viruses. But also the megachurch culture in America as well. I mean, to say that Americans are mostly Protestant nation is so funny how they've basically gone back to the Protestantism's original roots, which was to extort people as much as possible. That was Catholicism for you. But I know for Catholic people, and people who were previously Catholic, it's even worse, because the trauma from being told that you will basically suffer if you convert, either else, if the God loves you, yet he will despise you. It's a God of the Old Testament that will, reef you, will send hailstones, God of a partisan God, you better be Christian or you're not on God's side. Gosh. So I think for me, if I want to summarise the way that I feel that I was affected by being religious for 12 years, the first 12 years of my life, would be that there was no community in it. I felt like I wasted time. I felt like I was utterly lied to and betrayed by my own mother. Of course, I forgive her for it, because she's my mother, and I think she just thought that was the best for me, and that maybe she liked the idea and probably swayed in the idea by the church, and how other parents were doing that, how they took their children to church. And I mean, some of my mother's friends, I feel sorry for some of their children, because I feel like some of them truly don't believe in God, yet they're forced to believe in God, or else. And some of their kids believe that God is just an objective truth, and that they were created in their image, not because mummy and daddy went a bit too hard in the bed. Actually, no, oh my God. Oh my God, what am I saying? I mean, even now we know that, people are born just randomly. It's just all random, it's all genetics, probabilities, just basically probabilities. There's still people that believe that through his probabilities that is God. God makes them for a reason. God made you for a reason. Fate. God's always planned out. He's planned out, and God, he's planned out in this video for me to, just to make shit of him, just to fuck with him, He's planned it out, because, I don't know, maybe there's someone of you watching there that realises how much they hate me and they hate atheist people, so now they're going to kill 500 atheist people or something. I don't know. It's all God's plan, or what? Drake. God, I'm referencing Drake now. That's how much I love God. But I think I should draw this video to a close, as I've been rambling on for nearly 45 minutes. and why I hate God, religion, and my religious trauma from being bullied by religious people. I don't even know how they bullied me. I just remembered being bullied. I think it was I think it was exclusion almost, and being tormented as well. But just the fact that I think even if it was my experience probably wasn't as bad as some Catholics' experiences I've seen, I still think that it was quite terrible. I mean, being told about how good things happen because of God and bad things because of the devil, or because God willed it. Well, Ricky Dewar said that why doesn't God kill Satan? I mean, that's quite true. Why doesn't he just get rid of Satan? Surely he's powerful enough to get rid of Satan. Why? Why doesn't he? There's no reason for him not to. You know. Some Christians don't believe in Satan. They don't think Satan's real, but surely he's a part. The Antichrist, and my mum believes that the end of the world's going to happen through the Bible. The Bible predicts. Oh, and she also told me that 9/11 was predicted by the Bible as well. That's quite funny as well, because it's just American exceptionalism essentially. Religion is installed with American exceptionalism. There's a really good song called American Jesus by Bad Religion, and it's about American exceptionalism and religion, and about how Americans think, oh, we'll win because we got God on our side. You know, Bush said that we'll win in Iraq because we got God, not because we got the world's biggest military or the world's most funded military. Or at the time, now it's $1 trillion. Bloody hell, it's greater than some countries' GDP. That is literally a third of the British GDP. Their military budget is a third of our GDP. What, we're the 8th, 7th largest world economy, whatnot. We used to be the first, but then America came along and destroyed the British Empire. Which is all about religion anyway. Yeah, so I need to draw us to a close. My next video will be on imaginary numbers, and how they work in maths, but I hope you have enjoyed listening to me, and I hope you felt some comfort in that you also felt these things, but I'll see you in the next video, and so have a good night, rest of the day, good evening, wherever. Just enjoy yourself, because life's too short to not feel good. I don't know. Goodbye.